All right, so we have a question here which says evaluate P, Q, R in the polynomial. So we've been given 3x cubed minus 13x squared plus 18x minus 10 equals px plus q multiplied by x minus 1 multiplied by x minus 2 plus r. R represents the remainder. So the first thing that we're going to have to do here is we need to simplify the left-hand side. All right, we need to expand these brackets here so that we can have it in the format of a polynomial. Like here where we have 3x cubed, 13x squared plus 18x minus 10. We want to put them both in the same format. Then after we put them in the same format, we're going to find the values of P, Q, and R by equating coefficients. All right. So the two things that we need to do with this question. Number one, first, we simplify the left-hand side. We put it in the format of the ordinary polynomial. Once it's put in the format of the polynomial, we're going to equate the coefficients. So first things first, let's expand our left-hand side. So let me start with x minus 1 multiplied by x minus 2. Let me expand this first, then now expand this one next. So x times x, that is x squared. X times negative 2, that is negative 2x. Negative 1 times x, we get negative 1x. Negative 1 times negative 2, we get positive 2. Yes. Is that the question? Okay. So let's simplify what we have in our brackets here. X squared, negative 2x minus x, that will give you negative 3x. So we have x squared minus 3x plus 2 Okay, now we can expand this side of the equation. So we're going to say px multiplied by x squared, you get px cubed. Px multiplied by negative 3x, you get negative 3 px squared. Px multiplied by 2, you get plus 2px. Then we say q times x squared. Use another color here. q multiplied by x squared, we get qx squared. Q multiplied by negative 3x, we get negative 3qx. Q times 2, we get plus 2q. Plus r. Now, colleagues, before we go any further, any questions? Remember, this polynomial we have on the right-hand side should be following us as we are moving, as we are solving. Okay, so that I'm feeling lazy to write it again and again. But in your workings, basically, it should be following as you're doing the tabulations. So yes, any questions? Remember, we're still undergoing the first step where we're simplifying the left-hand side, where you're seeing all these calculations. Once you've simplified it, want to put it in the format of a polynomial, and then we can equate the coefficients. So now what happens here is we need to group like terms together. Or any terms with x to the same degree, we're putting them together. If it's x to the power 3, we're putting them together. If it's x to the power 2, we put them together. If it's x to the power 1, we put it together. All right. So that is px cubed. We can't say any other x to the power 3, so this one is by itself. Next, we look for any x to the power 2. So we have got this negative 3px squared and qx squared. So say minus 3px squared plus qx squared. Then x to the power 1, we have 1 here. We have another one here. So we're going to say plus 2px minus 3qx. Okay, then anything that doesn't have an x attached to it, you put them at the end. This 2q plus r, we just leave them at the end, plus 2q plus r. Now, as I said, in the second step, we need to put our left-hand side in the format of a normal polynomial. Then we need to equate the coefficients. By equating the coefficients, we'll be able to find the values of p, q, and x. So what has to happen first before we can do any equating of the coefficients? We need to do some factorization. So here we have got these two terms, 3px squared and qx squared. And we've also got this 2px minus 3qx. We need to factorize them. So this is how it becomes. Px cubed minus All right. We look at these two terms. What is our common factor? Our common factor is x squared. All right. Then you're going to say 3px squared divided by x squared. All right. 3px squared divided by the common factor, which is x squared. You get 3p. Plus qx squared divided by x squared, you're going to get q. Plus, we come to these two terms, 2px and this 3qx. You say, what is our common factor? The common factor is x. Okay, so you put the common factor outside. Okay, then you divide each term by the common factor. So 2px divided by x, that is 2p, minus 3qx divided by x, we get 3q, plus 2q plus r. So let me just rearrange it so that we put it in the format of a polynomial. Px cubed minus 3p plus q x squared plus 2p minus 3q, then we put the x outside, plus 2qr. So before I go any further, any questions? All right, so now this is the part where to get the values of p and q, we need to equate coefficients. So if we remember, a coefficient is a number that comes before a letter in very simple terms, all right? The number that is before the variable. So we're only talking about coefficients of x. Okay, not coefficients of q or p, no, coefficients of x. That's what we must understand here. We're equating coefficients of x. And also the constants. The constants are the numbers without any letters. Okay, so we begin with equating the coefficients. We start with the coefficients of x cubed. So if we look at both equations on the left hand side and on the right hand side, here the coefficient of x cubed is 3. On the left hand side, the coefficient of x cubed is p. So what you're going to say here, so for coefficients of x cubed, 3x cubed equals px cubed. You get rid of the x cubed because we're only focusing on the coefficients. So therefore, the value of p is 3. Yes, any questions? All right, next we're going to look at the coefficients of x squared. Coefficients of x squared. So we look at both sides of the equation. On the right hand side, the coefficient of x squared is 13. And on the other side here, the coefficient of x squared is this 3p plus q. Okay, this is the coefficient of x squared on this side, 3p plus q. So, oh, and let's not forget the negative sign. So it's negative 13. Here we're going to put negative 3p plus q. So please do not ignore the negative signs. You might be tempted to, but do not. Okay, get rid of the x squareds. Or if you want, you don't even need to write them. Okay, you can just put negative 13 equals negative 3p plus q. Then, first thing we need to do, we need to distribute the negative sign. So negative 1 times 3p, we get negative 3p. And negative 1 times q, you get negative q. Negative 13 here. Now, if you remember, p equals 3. All right. So since p equals 3, you just substitute p for 3. So negative 3 times 3, you get negative 9. Minus q equals negative 13. All right, so again, like terms together. So this negative q, we can take it over to this side, and this negative 13, we can take it over the equal sign. So when you take the negative q over the equal sign, we get q equals negative 9. Then when you take the negative 13 over the equal sign, plus 13. So negative 9 plus 13, that should be 4. So q equals 4. Yes. Any questions? Okay, so we found the values of P, Q. So what's remaining is we need to find the value of R. Okay, so if you look here, if we equate the coefficients of X, the coefficients of X are 18 and 2P minus 3Q. Now we've already got the values of Q, and we've also got the value of P, and we've also got the value of Q. All right, so don't be necessary solving again for P and Q because we've already got their values. Okay, so what we are looking for is the value of R. So we're going to equate now the constants, the numbers without the X variable, so anything without an X variable. So on this side, our constant is negative 10. On this other side, our constant is 2Q plus R. Okay, when you're equating the constants, it's just anything that doesn't have the X variable attached to it. Okay, if you see another letter, include it. So long as it shouldn't just have the X variable attached to it. So when you equate the constants, we have negative 10 equals 2Q plus R. So we already have our value of Q. Q equals 4. All right, so we're just going to substitute Q with 4. 2 times 4, that is 8. To get the value of R, we just group like terms together. So here we've got a negative 10, and here we've got a positive 8. So we take this 8 over the equal sign, so it's negative 10 minus 8 equals R. Negative 10 minus 8, you get negative 18. So R equals 18. So we have answered the question. The question wanted us to find the values of P, Q, and R. P equals 3, Q equals 4, R equals negative 18.